Hello, folks, and welcome to another wonderful not Friday night. That's right, it's a Saturday night because we should learn on Friday nights and we should learn on Saturday nights and on Sunday nights we should learn. That's the end. Hey guys, my name is Sam. I am a person who is obsessed with framing. I am here to teach you guys everything I know about how to take a plan like this, put marks on it so that we would understand a framing layout. That is why I'm here. Hopefully, that is why you are here, because that is what I'm going to go over today. Let's get right into it here. This is a scale. I'm going to use it. It says 1/4 inch right here. This is how I know my lengths on my plan. Everything is printed at 1/4 inch per foot. So I'm going to use this to figure out my real sizes here. Okay. So the first thing I got to know, we're going to start from the top of the building and work our way down because that is how you work through a house. This is the roof plan. From looking top down through the sky, you would see the outside edge of the roof, and then you would see the ridges and you'd see valleys, right? That's what these lines represent. Okay. So they represent, so this is a 612 pitch running down the back of the house. This is a 1212 pitch right here. They would merge along this line in this valley, right? Okay. So that is how that works. What we're going to do is we got to figure out first how we're going to hold up our ridges, hips, and valleys. So let's take a look with yellow first because this is less obvious. So here's a ridge. We got to take care of this. We got a ridge over here. We'll take care of this. We got a ridge right here, and we got a ridge right here. We got a valley, and a valley. And we don't need to worry about holding up the outside edge of the roof because there's walls for that. Okay. So before we really look at the ridges, hips, and valleys, we're going to think a little bit about our rafters on this house here. Okay. So the rafters are the dudes that are like making the main diaphragm or the main surface of your roof. They would go something like this. If you're looking top down and the house was framed up with no sheathing on it or anything, it would look like this. Okay, so like there's some rafters. So they're going to go this direction on this side. They're going to go this direction on this side. They're going to stop with these valleys, and these valleys are going to be real. Actually, we're going to get to that. But that's what the rafters are doing. And so what I need to think about, because this house is so simple, this roof is such a simple, clean, like farmhouse, just like boom, gable end, ridge right down the middle, and two cute little pop outs. We're going to talk about that. And I forgot to give you guys the tour. Let's have a little tour because I printed out these plans. And so let's take a look at what I got. Okay, here's the floor plan. We got to wrap our minds around this house. What is going on in the house? Okay, we got a carport, vaulted ceiling. So there's no flat ceiling in the carport. We got a porch. Looks like it's 9-foot ceiling here, 9-foot ceiling here, and vaulted right here up to the peak. Centered on this door. That makes sense. On the back porch, we have 9-foot and 9-foot. Again, another vaulted ceiling up to this peak. We have a vaulted ceiling at a 612 inside here. But that's actually going to be framed totally separate from this. So that's a new thing for us, I think, on this channel. So we're going to talk about this guy. We're going to have a flat ceiling. This line says the flat ceiling starts here. 10-foot ceiling. All the rooms are 10-foot ceiling. So the whole house, boom, is 10-foot ceiling. Porches, 9-foot ceiling. Carport, it's vaulted ceiling, but we don't know. Oh, it says 9-foot plates out here on the edges. So that's where the roof starts. Now, if you had any doubts, you would look at your elevations. All right, here's the front of the house. Somebody put here on the plan, look, 9-foot plate height, boom, all the way across. You can see all the roof plane is in a line. There's nothing popping up or sticking out to make that different. Look at the back of the house, same thing. We have a 12-12 on the back. Not much else is different. And then we got the left and right sides. Looks like this 9-foot plate's just all the way across. So the 10-foot ceilings all exist up inside this, space. So like you're not going to see anything popping out. There's nothing funky. And then here's the right side where there's this open carport with a nice, beautiful cedar thing that people like to build. Okay. So that is the elevations. Those are the elevations. That is the elevations sheet. So moving right into this here. If this is our roof, we got this side going down to the back, this side going down to the front. What are these rafters going to be? That is the question. So where are they like framed? First of all, well, they're going to start on the outside porch wall on both sides, and they're going to run all the way up the roof until they hit the ridge. How far is that? If they were totally unsupported from the wall to the ridge, how far would it be? It'd be 24 feet, almost exactly. That is too far for a 2x6 rafter, 24 inches on center, to span. We can go about 11 feet horizontally on the plan view before we need support. And so we also cannot support this in just one place in the middle either, because if we cut 24 in half, it's a 12-foot span plus a 12-foot span, and that's still both over 11. So what I'm thinking here, folks, is a pretty common strategy, which is that this is a 612, and we've got quite a bit of height up in here. And so typically what you're going to see is you're not actually going to bump up the whole roof to 2x8s. What you're actually going to want to do, most likely, is you're going to run a framing support line along both the perimeter walls. So like you're over here on the floor plan, we got exterior wall going all the way through, exterior wall going all the way through. All right, so we'd run support right on top of that because it's super easy. We don't need beams. We don't need nothing. Let's add line for that, okay? So we would call this a purlin line. It's representing a board the same size or greater than your rafters running the lengthwise. And it's a support point. And so all the way down this thing, we'd say, hey, every 4 feet, you're going to brace this sucker straight down. We'll talk about what goes on underneath here in a second. And you would just do that all the way down, and you would not be concerned with much else. That would be super simple. So what that does is it gets us over the porch, because the porch spans like 8 feet. Cool, so that's fine. But now we've got from the purlin to the ridge is 16 feet. If we break that again, then we can actually hopefully make some stuff happen. So what I want to know is along this whole house, we pretty much have this wall running like through the middle of the house. So I want to know if I could actually use that wall to bear the load of my roof without having to add any extra beams. That is what I want to know. How do I figure that out? We have to use some geometry, but we're going to figure it out, folks. First thing I got to know, starting on the back one, what is the max I can go? I can go about 11 feet, so it's going to be like about there somewhere. So if I just make that distance somewhat consistent across my plan, that's about where the purlin has to be. Now, I need to know in the worst case scenario, my purlin has to run from here. Sorry, my supports need to reach from here all the way to this far wall, which is about 7 feet on the plan horizontally. So how would I know if I can run 7 feet horizontally? We would use the rule that you can run a brace in a roof. So here's a roof. If this is the purlin we just drew, running the lengthwise of all these rafters, you could add a brace to it. That braces down to a wall. Here's another wall. This angle can be 45 degrees or more vertical, but you can't go slacker than 45 degrees without doing weird engineering. So how do we know how far we can reach? Because I figured out that this pink part right here is the vertical location on the plan, and my wall is right here. I know the distance between those two is basically 7 feet. Well, if I figure out how high I am from my support point to my wall, then I can figure out how far I can go. So how do I figure how high I am? Well, we use that by using geometry of the roof. First of all, how high is this wall? Well, the entire inside of the house is built with 10-foot ceilings, so that wall is at 10 feet. We know that's the case. All right. Now, how high are we at this purlin? How do we know how high we are? Well, we're going to start at the inside of the wall right here, and we know that this roof is a 612 pitch. So that means for every 12 units horizontal, we're going to go up 6. So we would just figure out how far over are we going to get to the purlin line, right? I don't care where the wall is. I care how high I am this way. So from the wall to the purlin is about 18 feet. So 18 is 1.5 of 12. So I'm just doing mental math in my head. You basically just do a ratio. If I go over 18, then I'm going up 9. All right. So from this point I'm going to go plus 9 feet. That is how much height I gain right here. Now, what that doesn't tell me is it doesn't tell me I'm not 9 feet above my wall necessarily, because this roof was built on a 9-foot plate on the outside of the house. So from 9 foot tall, I went up 9 feet, and now I am at 18 feet, which puts me 8 feet above my 10-foot wall at the inside. And because 8 feet is less than the 7, I can actually reach all my braces all the way over to this wall, and I know I'm good. Okay, so that one will just go down the wall, but I can actually draw it like this. And these braces are going to be pretty close to a 45, but it's not going to be a big deal because it all works out. The math works out. So I could just basically draw my braces. You may or may not be able to see these gray walls, but I'm just kind of like putting the weight down there. All right, so that covers the back side of the house, except for the porch. We'll talk about that in a second. These little gables. Anyway. You know what? Let's talk about that. Okay, so this is a vaulted ceiling back here, and the ceiling is vaulted to the same pitch as the roof. So what's going to happen is you're actually going to frame this. The rafters would look like this for the gable. They're going to go down like this, and they're not going to stop at the valley. They're actually going to go all the way to this wall in real life, at least to where the house is. Okay, and that's because this is literally, you're literally making the ceiling of this patio room. So you got to do that. So you built that. This, in this little area right here, this would be overstacked. Okay, so that area is going to be like filled in with blocking after you frame the main roof structure and this gable structure. And the same is going to happen up here. Rafters are going to go like this. You know, they're gonna make this vaulted ceiling porch, and then these rafters are going to come down, and they're going to stop at this exterior wall, like so. In this case, there's no overframe. Not really. I mean, there's a little bit of overframe from this part. Technically, yeah, actually there is overframe, but not super concerned about that. So that's what's going on there. Easy enough. And those are really short spans, so we are not concerned with the length or the spans of those rafters. It is less than 11 feet. Let's talk about this side. We've got the rafters covered from the front wall to this wall. That was only 8 feet. And it's too far from the ridge to this purlin. That's like 17 feet, too far. So we got to put another support line in here. We happen to have walls all over the place in here. And so I'm just going to put this in here about midway because I don't really care where it is, because I know I've got support everywhere and I know I'm pretty high. I can reach up and solve all my problems. You know, these would go about 4 feet on center down the purlin. If I was a framer, this would be a nice, easy house. This is sort of plus or minus 4 feet on center, but like that's what you're supposed to do. Okay, so that would support this whole part of the roof minus the ridge. Haven't talked about the ridge yet. What's the secret of the ridge? Well, every 4 feet, we're going to want to support down to something, and we've got walls all over the place. All right, so the circle I'm drawing represents where we attach to the ridge, and the little dash I draw represents, hey, where does a brace land? Right, and it's going to land wherever you have a wall. We got lots of height up in the attic up here, so that would be super easy to do. Now, let's talk this little chunk, this little nug that sticks out here on the right. What is going on with this? Well, that's a vaulted ceiling, which means the rafters are the ceiling in this particular case. And we know that because of the view we looked at where it's like, oh, I can see the siding in this photo. Like I can see through this, which means the only piece of structure could exist in this zone. Therefore, I've got one shot, which means I can't put beams in. I can't put any of these purlins or braces in. I have to span from the wall or beam up to my ridge, which in this case is a little bit over 11 feet, and I don't like that. Luckily enough for us, these roof planes are like totally separate from each other. See how like this upper roof does not interfere with this guy down here. So we could easily just bump up this whole section. We would say, hey, this is us all 2x8s, you know, on this right here. And then we'd have a span, would be totally fixed. Rafters would go like this. It'd reach just fine. And of course, if we needed to add beams in, which we do, we'll do beams in orange here on the roof plan. There's beams wrapping the entire porch. That's what holds the roof over porches, is beams on the ends. Beam all the way down. And because we got these vaulted areas, something has to catch the vaulted ceiling. So there would actually be beams right there. Same right here. Okay. So for the roof, that's all we need to do. Pretty cut and dry. What about the ceiling? Well, super easy. This ceiling is done because it was the roof. What's going on in here? Again, this ceiling is done because it was the roof. This ceiling is done because it was the roof. What are we going to do everywhere else? Flat ceilings everywhere else. Guess what? We're in line with the rafters. All these roof rafters, by the way, are going front to back across this whole big house. So we're just going to just shoot these guys on in here. And what we're looking for is, are there any spans over 14 feet? Because a 2x6, 24 inches on center with regular ceiling weight, no attic loads, can go about 14 feet horizontal span without needing extra supports and stuff. So I'm going to look through here and check for that one's overspan. So I would add probably a little double 2x6 if I was framing this up. I'd put a little double 2x6 right there. This one, yeah, it's a little bit overspan. So I could either turn all the ceiling joists in this room. Well, I'll probably just do that. I would just turn all the ceiling joists in this room. These could go all the way across. Yeah, this can go all the way across. We can cross this room. We can cross this room. Let's check for 14 feet here. Yeah, we're good. We can cross that. We can cross this. We would cross the hallway the short way. And then in this open space in the kitchen, we'll deal with that in a second. We can cross the bathroom in the short direction, and then we can go this way. Let's check for span. Yeah, we're good. We can go 14 feet here. So that covers the ceiling. Let's talk about back here. Again, this is short. We're in line with the roof. We're going to run our ceiling joists just like that. All that's left over, we wouldn't put ceiling joists inside the fireplace, so we can leave that alone. Kitchen. Okay, let's talk about what's going on right here. Okay, there's a 10-foot ceiling, and there's a 10-foot plate vaulted ceiling. All right, vaulted ceiling. What does that mean? Let's draw. It means here's our kitchen ceiling. It sits on 10-foot tall walls. This would be a vaulted ceiling sitting on 10-foot tall walls. All right, your ceiling members are just going to go up to the peak just like so. Now, what you need to know is there needs to be, whenever you vault the ceiling like this, unless you're going to do cool framing details to do like hidden scissor trusses and like cool stuff, which I've seen and you can do, but like don't tell regular framers to do that because they're going to ruin your house. Most people are going to nowadays just throw a nice big beam right up here on the ridge, just like that. And what that would look like in the cross section is it would probably stick down something like this. Now there are ways, if you have lots of attic room, you could actually put the beam up here and then just hang the, like kill the ceiling joist right in the bottom of the beam and then like block in the bottom so it like comes to a peak with no finish. But people like to usually see a member up here. It like looks kind of appealing. So in this case, the beam that we put here is held up in the fireplace wall on this end, which is great news. But on this end, there's nothing holding it up. It's floating over an open room. How do we fix that? Well, we would put another beam defining this edge exactly where Mr. Designer said to put it, right there. And then we'd set the weight on top of this one and we'd be good to go. No problems. So that's how we'd solve that problem. And I was going to get to this because I know I'm putting a beam here. I want to check. Uh-oh, where'd my 1/4 inch go? Every time. I want to check for 14 foot across. I can, sure enough, just take my ceiling joist and do that. No sweat. Don't forget to box out your attic access door so you can get to your attic. But yeah, that'd be a super easy way to do the kitchen. Now, if for some reason somebody wanted to get up in the attic and store a bunch of stuff up here, you'd probably want to, well, that's slanted, so you're not doing it there, but the kitchen could be a good spot for storage. So maybe they beef that up to like maybe 2x10s or something. It depends on how much weight you want to put up there. There's tables for that in the IRC. And then the ceiling is actually going to be its own slanted ceiling joist, sloped ceiling joist, not a rafter, a sloped ceiling joist. Okay. Here's a flat ceiling joist. Here's a sloped ceiling joist, and the rafters live above the entire thing. And then this is your attic. That's basically what's going on in this house. So that takes care of the ceiling. We had all the beams all the way around the porch. You guys know about that. We had these beams here. We had the beams all around the porch. Beam here, beam here. Oops, I missed beam there. Of course, we would always want to look and say, hey, where's all of our openings? We got windows. We got doors. We got all kinds of stuff. Okay, anywhere there's a window or a door, you want to make sure that you are not forgetting your headers. If you have a beam that lands on a header, you got to check that out. Make sure it's a well-calculated header. There's no problems, right? So this is just a way to like think about, hey, where's all the structural members going in my house? So yeah, that's pretty much it. This is a super simple house, and that is it. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. We got the roof, bunch of purlin lines parallel with the like ridge of the roof. Super simple. Ceiling, mostly front to back. Special vaulted ceiling in here. Simple, cut and dry house. Learning complete. Good job, guys. Thanks for coming on. Let's address the comment section because we got commenters. We got Mr. Will Stevenson in the chat. Hey, Will, thanks for showing up. Thanks for supporting the channel, and thanks for learning about wonderful wood and stuff. That's what we do here. And then we got Eugene. Hey, Eugene, good to see you. Eugene is a great, consistent watcher. He is interested in learning. He's a smart man for being on here for sure. Good to see you, Eugene. Thanks for watching and supporting and everything. Folks, that's all I got. So tomorrow is Sunday. I will be doing the Scrutinizing Sunday show, talking about what happened over the last week. And yeah, we're just charging right along with this design industry, just trying to grow things and solve problems for people. And we will just do that tomorrow. So thanks for coming on. Let's take it out with some music by the one and only Green Observer.
That's the code.